Welcome to the channel. My name's John, and in today's episode, the Charger goes under the knife. Stay tuned. All right, last time you saw her, we were taking a closer look at this driver's side quarter panel to see just how bad the damage was, and after some deliberation, I found it would probably be much more time efficient and have a better product in the end to just cut this whole section out and replace it with a panel that I've just gotten in the mail today. So I've got a couple of things to do before then. I've got to get the car up in the air and on jack stands to make it a more reasonable working height. And I've got to cut that marker light out. The new panel doesn't have it, so I've got to cut that portion out. I'll measure it all up and everything once I get the new panel tacked up onto the car, and I'll weld that piece back in. So, wish me luck. Welcome back, guys. So I went ahead and cut out a majority of the old panel without filming it, just because I wanted to purely focus on cutting it off. Yeah, so this is where I'm at so far. I left roughly 3/4 of an inch on all sides of the old metal. I'll show you what that's all about once I go to put the new panel on. I still got to go underneath here. I have to clean up all the spot welds that I ground through, clean up all of that rust. My light just died. Clean up all of that rust with a wire wheel, paint it, make sure it's all good. Then I'll prep the new panel, slide it up in there, tack weld it in, and we'll be off to the races. This is the old panel, or part of it. There's a lot of miscellaneous pieces just lying around all over the place. This is the back side of the panel, and as you can see, this is what would have been the wheel well. And there was a patch panel already welded in here. Another patch panel welded the whole length. Then if I flip it over, there's that green beast. So there's at least 2, maybe 3 pieces of steel. This gray part from my finger in is a patch panel. This green is a patch panel. This Bondo, you can just see the weld underneath. That's a patch panel. And that looks like it goes basically the whole length down. So I've mocked up the new panel. It fits like a dream. So you can see there's still going to be some spots that I'm going to have to fix that the patch panel doesn't cover. There's a little dent right there. You can see that dark part. There's a couple of little low spots. Nothing that a little bit of glazing putty is not going to be able to fix. And then this portion of my wheel well lip, I believe from here back, is going to have to be replaced. And that should be easy enough for me to make, hopefully. Yeah, and then other than that, it's just going to be, I already kind of started up here, taking my orbital sander and bringing this all down to bare metal. I've brought it back because the panel itself is only going to be about out to here, so it is going to take up that portion there, but not that hole. And there's another one right under my finger there. Yeah, so that's where I'm at. Stick around. I might put you guys on time lapse while I clean all this stuff up, wire wheel it, and then I've got to run up to the store and get some paint once my fiance comes home so somebody can watch my trailer. And yeah, then I'll be ready to go. Hopefully I can get this thing tacked in tonight. If not, then, you know, at some point this week. Stick around. Okay, well, honestly, the time-lapse footage showed up pretty crap, so I'm not going to go ahead and throw it in the video. What you see here is I've got the new panel tacked in, right? So what I did was I just did a couple of tack welds every couple of inches. Right there, and I did 1 plug weld right there in the very back. I haven't done any welding inside of the wheel well or underneath. I'll probably do that last. What I'm going to do next is a pretty common method, at least on forums and here on YouTube, and it's one that I have picked up from DD Speed Shop over here on YouTube. So what I'm going to do is, now that I've got it all tacked in, I'm going to take my angle grinder and I'm going to come in at a 45-degree angle at the top of the panel, right? So I'm essentially going to cut my tack welds off. I'm using flux core, which is why this looks real crap, but you know, work with what you got. A new tank is 150 bucks. So I'm going to come in at a 45-degree angle right on this lip all the way down. That's going to leave me about 3/4 of an inch of material, because remember, I still have steel underneath here. On the inside of the trunk, right? So when I come down at that 45-degree angle, what that's going to do is allow me to push this panel in, and it'll come up flush with this panel here. And while I'm pushing it in with like a hammer handle or something, I'll go ahead and buzz it in again, and that'll be the finish weld, right? So now doing panels like this one's not particularly big, but you still want to be careful because it's thin and welding gets hot. So what you do is, or what I've done here and what I'll continue to do until it's completely finish welded, is I started right there. I did that tack weld, and then I moved over here. I did that tack weld. Then I moved back and did another one, moved back, and I tried to stagger them as far away from each other as I could, and then let it cool down for a little bit. And you put your hand up here. I literally just finished welding this, and it's hardly warm to the touch. It also helps that it's about 30 degrees in my garage right now. So I'm going to continue with doing what I just explained, coming in with my angle grinder at a 45-degree angle. I'll push it in with a hammer handle, buzz it in. I'll see if I can set you guys up somewhere where I can get a decent time lapse. And yeah, we'll see how she goes. And there you have it. She's not finish welded, but she's all tacked in, and nice smooth transition. Some spots are a little rough. This is my first time doing it, but nothing that won't clean up with the grinder. Very cool. Now the point of going through and cutting at that 45-degree angle is I should now be able to come back in here ta-da! Now all that steel that was left down in there is out. And this is completely butt welded. So now what I'm gonna have to do is basically the same thing, other than pushing it with the hammer. What you didn't see is I basically put the head of the hammer up against my chest while I was on my knee, lined it up with this panel, and then just kind of leaned into it until I had a nice smooth gap, and then I went buzz, buzz on either side of it. And then just move along, keep doing that same thing. And you should end up with a nice smooth transition. You can also tell by doing that 45, you can tell some spots like a decent gap, but right here, look at that. That's nothing. And I can hardly feel that transition with my finger at all. Very, very happy for my first time doing it. Now, like I said, there is still some damage over here, but this is a whole panel. You know, I didn't cut this panel up at all. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come through, I'm gonna finish weld it, and then I'll take my grinder, flatten her back out, and then once I'm happy with up here, I'll come through and you can see I drilled some holes in the bottom of the new panel. I'm just gonna plug weld there, and then I'm just gonna stitch weld a couple of spots underneath. And then there's a few holes there. I already did one plug weld, and I've got a spot for 1, 2, 3, 4 more. And then after that, yeah, it's just grinder all flat, make sure everything's nice and smooth. You can see on the wheel well body line. I don't know how you can see, well, you can see that in the camera. Wheel well body line, perfect transition, perfect transition. Very, very happy. So yeah, I would highly suggest checking out DD's Speed Shop's video on doing this. Again, I'm using flux core, not ideal. It's a very messy welder, but it does stick 2 pieces of metal together. You just got to spend a little bit more time with a wire wheel or a wire brush and clean a lot of this crap off. Otherwise you won't get a good weld. And I'm gonna have to spend more time with the grinder just because flux core does not make pretty welds. So I'll see you guys when it's finished. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for me for today. As you can see here, we got her all ground down. It's not perfect. In all honesty, it did cup a little bit at the weld, but it's fine because it only cupped oh man, maybe a 16th of an inch. I can feel it by hand, but you can hardly tell just by looking at it, which is totally fine because I'm going to hit it with some fiberglass reinforced body filler to act as a sealer all along that seam anyway. Other than that, I don't see any warping or twisting or anything in the new panel. It looks nice and straight. Yeah, so that's where I'm going to wrap it up for today. Tune in next week where we continue our way down this quarter panel. I'm going to go ahead and grind all this back, and then hopefully I can come up with something to repair this little rust hole here. And then we'll go ahead and sand everything all back, shmoo on the stuff. And this side will be basically done. I did spot a couple of bubbles under the paint on the very front of the driver's door, which means there's rust underneath it. So I'm gonna have to knock all that back and look for it. But yeah, my body working days are numbered, which is a really, really good feeling. So tune in next week. We'll continue on the body work. I'll show you my progress, and yeah, stay tuned. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification button if you want to stay up to date on the Charger. I try to post a video every Saturday, but you know, I'm starting to run out of work and money for parts. So, is what it is. See you next week.